Thanks for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and this is We've Got Issues. We're filming today at the Coquitlam City Centre Library, and we'd like to thank the library for giving us the space to carry out our interviews. And I'd also like to acknowledge that our interviews are taking place on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of Coquitlam First Nation. So we thank the Coquitlam people who continue to live on the lands and to care for the lands and the waters and all that lie above and below. Today, I'm joined by some Port Moody residents. We have Nishka Valdev and Tracey Crawford, who are with a group of Port Moody residents who are campaigning for an expansion of Rocky Point Park. So thank you both for joining me today.
No problem.
Thank you for having us.
Can you start us off by just telling us a little bit about yourselves and your group and what you're trying to achieve?
Okay, so I'm Nishka Valdez, and I've been a resident for about 16 years in Port Moody, and I've seen it grow myself. Lived in Klahani. That was my first living experience, and we moved here from downtown for the beautiful trees and the inlet, the wildlife, and we needed peace in our lives, and we loved the greenery of that with my family.
It's definitely a beautiful space to live in, for sure.
Yes.
And how about you, Tracey?
So my husband's family's been in Port Moody since 1958.
Mm-hmm.
And he was born and raised, and we still live here. We've lived in Port Moody off and on since the 80s. We always come back here because we love it. And the best part about Port Moody for me was access to the water and parks, and how treated it was and how charming it was in the community. The neighbors were so supportive. And for me, about Rocky Point Park specifically, is I just feel that it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to preserve and expand the park for future generations.
Okay, so you've touched on a little bit, but maybe you can expand a bit more as to why you think we need more park space in Port Moody. There's parks there already. Why do you think we need more parks?
So for the last few years, there's been a lot of developments that have been approved throughout our cities. Some have already come. We are experiencing more and more residents coming into our neighborhoods. And there is about 70,000 people expected by the year 2050.
Oh, that's a lot.
So it's a lot of people, and most of these developments are walking distance to Rocky Point Park.
Okay.
So we have a huge chance to expand into the old mill site, more of a park for everybody to enjoy. And this is our last chance, basically, to have more park space right on the inlet, overlooking the water for everyone.
I think you do bring up a really valid point with the increase in population that will come to this area, and perhaps along with that, an increase on the pressure on the park spaces that we already have. And as buildings go up, like you say, perhaps there's less opportunity to create those park spaces after the fact. Can you tell us a little bit about Rocky Point Park? Like, what's special about Rocky Point Park, and why are you specifically interested in expanding that park as opposed to another park somewhere else in Port Moody?
It's everything special about that park. If you've ever walked in that park, everybody knows it's special. The outdoor pool is special. Mm-hmm. The pier is special. The little businesses that surround the park are special. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing like it. The green space, the water spray park, the kids area, the access to boating and fishing, and the access to water sports. I mean,
And it
where
brings-
else are we going to get that in Port Moody?
Yeah, and it brings the community together.
It's our only large space. Coquitlam has Lafarge, Port Coquitlam has Castle Park, Vancouver has Stanley Park. This is our Stanley Park, and we need it.
Well, and I think one thing that you mentioned too that is maybe a little bit unique to Port Moody and Rocky Point Park is that ocean or waterfront access along there, which most communities don't have that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's special about Rocky Point for sure. Can you talk a little bit about what your vision is for expanding Rocky Point Park? Like how are you proposing that to happen?
Mm-hmm. Good question.
So there's a lot of, right now, the official community plan, it's still industrial land. And the big thing is with all these residents that we've been talking to, they really want to see more expansion of the park rather than more towers in that area by the waterfront. So there is many ways. Right now we're trying to get more signatures so that council actually recognizes that this is what the people want. With going forward, all the developments that are coming, they're supposed to be putting in money into infrastructure.
Right.
So there is ways for them to also start putting this money aside for expanding the park. Another big thing is the OCP needs to be changed, and it can help us because it being industrial land, when it gets changed to residential, it automatically inflates how expensive the land is. So if we had the council actually recognize that we need park space, they could put into the OCP that we can expand Rocky Point Park that way.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. For people who are not familiar with the area, can you talk about where that land is that you think should be changed from industrial to parkland?
So the old mill site,
Okay.
that whole land is slated to have 12 towers with parks in between the towers.
Okay.
Pocket park.
What we call pocket parks.
And what is a pocket park?
It's a very minimal little green space that's basically unusable.
Will any of it be waterfront access in there, or do you know at this point?
On the diagrams, it shows a walking path along the front.
A walking path.
I
Okay.
think it's so important for people to look at the plan
Mm-hmm.
because it basically looks like nothing but buildings
Yeah.
with green strips of grass.
Okay, so that's quite different than the vision that you have for that
Very different.
area.
Very different.
And right now, do you know who owns that land? Is that
Yes, it's a family-owned company,
Okay,
Nolan
so it's-
Timber, and the family owns the land, and the value of the land. The key is once you designate the OCP classification from industrial to residential, that's where they make money.
right? Okay, so
So
the
it's an
property
investment.
value goes up, like you
It
said.
inflates.
Inflates.
Okay.
So therein lies the problem. So in other communities like Burnaby, they expropriated the land through the community charter, the
Okay.
provincial community
So there's
charter.
a tool to be able to do that
There
through
is
the
a tool, but you have,
OCP,
yes,
or
but
the-
you have to remunerate it at market value.
Right.
But market value depends on how it's designated.
right.
So this is always the hard part.
Yeah, I can see how that gets really complicated really
Very
quickly.
complicated, yes.
And as far as the park space itself, I think there has been a proposal to make changes to Rocky Point Park itself as it exists now.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about what those proposed changes are and why that's not enough? Like why we need that extra, or why you propose that
So
extra
there's-
space is needed?
So there's been a lot of surveys done in the past through the city, and most residents want to see an expansion of this park. And one of the surveys, they actually had what they would like to see within Rocky Point Park. One of the things that came up is getting rid of the pool to expand the surface area of the park per se, and make changes throughout for better walking, for maybe more trees.
Yes. So there's been numerous ideas. I don't think there's anything set out concretely. I don't think that's relevant to what we're saying at all, because I think first of all for us it's getting the land, and then the community has to decide what is relevant and what is needed in our community.
So first you need to secure that land.
First you
and
need
then,
to secure, and then you need to have a community, discussion and plan for that.
And the ideas are endless, but right now as it is, we've had in the last few years, we've had where Golden Spikes last year, they had to close down the park and not let any more people in because yes, the residents use it, and I'm speaking for myself, I use it mostly during the week. On weekends, it is people from all over, from Tri-Cities are all using. We have all of our cities have grown. So there's more people. So we're trying to secure it for our residents, our taxpayers, the ones that came here, and all the new ones that are coming, and our kids.
For sure.
And I think nobody ever regrets Stanley Park. Right?
No.
And with our changing climate and, people needing more spaces to get out and more equitable spaces to be under those trees, I understand what you're saying, that there's a proposal to maybe put more trees within Rocky Point Park, but there's also a need for that open space too, because you're using that as festival space. So there becomes a little bit of a challenge and a not a conflict, but a pressure on how do you use that space.
It's a good challenge though, if you have the space.
If
it's
you
a good
have the
challenge,
space, it
right?
changes that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We currently have our farmers market at the rec center in the parking lot. It is very overcrowded. Rec center has outgrew the amount of people that are using it. So there has been residents saying, we love a farmer's market, but it needs a larger space.
Right.
And the parking lot's very small. So we have many beautiful ideas of what a park extension can bring us. We could have the artists displaying their beautiful pieces on top of having the farmer's market, more natural spaces for families to actually, and one thing that does get brought up often is a little bit more parking. And the only reason
I was just going to ask you about that, because there are some challenges there, and one of them is parking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will tell you that we have transit, we need to walk. But last year we went to Rocky Point Park and we walked around on the weekend, which was really, really busy. And while we were talking, I talked to seniors. And seniors, there's a lot of mobile issues getting on a bus with all their stuff. And so one gentleman in particular, he said, my family had to drive me right to the spot. There was no parking, so they had to go a little bit further. The families that have 2-3 kids with all their stuff can't just take a bus or walk the whole way.
Right.
There is, and the boat launch takes a lot of space for a lot of the boats.
That's true. And, I think we all hope to move towards transit-oriented and alternate sort of methods, but it also does create barriers for those folks, and I think we have to acknowledge that not everyone can come on transit. Right?
That's right.
And as population builds, I think that pressure only rises.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, we've talked a little bit about the challenges, a little bit about, your plans and what you would like to see. What are you hearing from the people of Port Moody when you talk to them, the residents themselves?
Go ahead.
It's overwhelmingly in favor. I won't say 100%. There are definitely people that would love to see nothing but development, mass high density in the city, which still surprises me. Why did they move to Port Moody? But for example, like Lougheed, that corridor, that's what they want to see in Port Moody.
Okay.
So not everyone, but I'd say the vast majority tell us it's a no-brainer.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do have some folks that are saying, no, we actually don't want to see an expanded park.
Correct.
We need that space for
Absolutely,
buildings and
yeah.
densification.
This
Yes,
when
definitely have
when
that.
we walk, we have little signatures. Everybody puts them down, and I would say 1 or 2 people out of 10 people will say no.
Okay.
So we
you've got about 80 to 90% of people saying
say yes,
Okay.
and they're concerned. They're concerned,
Mhm.
yes, about our roads, and this is not what we're talking about here today. But there's a lot of concerns in our city for the aging population. That whole area also has liquefaction in it.
Mhm.
It's soft soil. There's a lot of people that know this, that there's even a professor from, I'm sorry, I don't have UBC, but I don't remember his name.
I think it's Dr. Hutt.
He actually wrote a book saying where you should not build. And that mill site area has liquefaction with the concerns of global warming, the higher sea levels. And residents are actually noticing this.
Well, I think Port Moody just redid their boardwalk area there, and they also raised it up because in acknowledgement that our climate is changing, sea levels are rising. I didn't realize that about the liquefaction in at that particular site, but definitely something worth looking into and making ourselves more aware of that as well. I mean, if you're looking to the future, it's something that we definitely have to consider.
But most residents do say they're really concerned. The growth is going to be huge, and fairly quickly it's coming. So we believe as residents we should have the waterfront and most of the park for the future generations and our kids.
Well, I thank you so much for coming in and talking about it and sharing that with us. I think some folks aren't aware that there is the potential maybe to expand and what the challenges around that might be for Rocky Point Park. So appreciate Tracey, you coming in, and Nishka as well. Thanks so much for joining us. Next up, we have Juan Carlos Felipe, who will be talking to us a little bit about the campaign and some of the thoughts on moving forward with the potential expansion of Rocky Point Park. Welcome back. I'm here with Nishka Valdev, and joining us now is Juan Carlos Felipe, who is also a resident of Port Moody and is part of the campaign to expand Rocky Point Park. So welcome back, Nishka, and welcome, Juan.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for having us.
So, Juan Carlos, you are part of sort of this campaign where you have a petition and you've been going out and talking to folks in the community. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're hearing from people about Rocky Point Park and how they feel about a potential expansion?
Yeah, of course. Well, we mostly hear from people that since all this growth, upcoming growth in the next 20, 30 years, the density it's increasing. It has increased through 5-10 years. It's the necessity to expand the land of Rocky Point to the west. It's really important for all these families and especially for future generations.
Right. I think as densification happens,
Yes.
Park space will become more and more valuable to the community. Can you talk a little bit about why park space is so valuable to our communities?
Well, what we found is people want open spaces.
Mhm.
They don't want to stay in concrete jungles, right?
Right.
So the main idea is to keep or expand a more green spaces.
So more natural
Yes,
areas where people
natural.
can get out and be with nature, or to be in spaces where they can maybe play sports and be outside.
And if I can put a little thing in there, the amount of so I work with seniors. Every day I do home visits with seniors, and we are getting hotter as a city. Everywhere we put these developments, and the less trees we have, the hotter it gets. So with my seniors, when we go to parks where there's lots of trees, where there's natural spaces. They're indoors a lot. They can't go out on their own. One of them has dementia, so she can't go on her own.
Right.
So these, I believe, they are better for our health. Parks are so important for bringing people together, for mind health, for climate change health. We have Carl Ronka that supports us fully through this and has commented, for us to keep up with climate change and the heatings of the city, we need to plant at least 10,000 or more trees within the region.
Yeah. And I think he even was more like 10 million from what I
10
understand.
million, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And we
10
should just
million.
maybe say who Carl Ronka is, the founder of Web of Life, who
Yes.
is a pretty amazing group of folks
yeah.
that go out and do cleanup and restoration in natural
Yeah,
areas.
and he teaches you
Amazing.
eat plants from the forests that are around
So
us.
bringing us back together with nature and understanding how important that is to reconnect
Yes.
with nature.
Absolutely.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the petition? What is the petition asking for? What are you asking people to sign? And also, how many signatures do you have?
So I'll start off with, we have over 2,000. So there's just a small group of us. So with all the wonderful summer days, we've had some vacations.
You've been at Rocky Point Park.
We've been so we have been trying to go out, and all we're asking is for signatures, your emails, to just tell us that you support us going to council and speaking up for an expansion for all residents.
Okay.
And we have online website, and it's expandrockypoint.com. I think in the notes in the video we'll have the petition where people can follow and go
We
sign.
can put a link in
in
some
there.
visuals
Sorry.
in there, yeah.
But yes, so that's all, is just to support us so we have the backing. I'd like to say with Anmore, all residents pulled in together.
That was pretty amazing to see.
They pulled
the
in
change that
together,
happened
and they
there,
all
yeah.
showed up, and they changed the outcome of what was coming.
Yes.
And that gave me hope. And I think all of us, that when we speak up as a community, residents that are already growing,
Right.
we already have buildings, we already have so many developments coming that haven't even been started. And so with that, this is all we're asking, is that you put your name on there and be a team with us, just like Anmore one.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And then also going forward, do you have plans to maybe do a delegation to council, or has there been a conversation around that already?
Yes, we have the next steps are create a delegation where we can keep working on this initiative, and we would like to invite all Port Moody residents to join us to this initiative for future generations.
Yeah.
And this will be a great issue for our city, since the growth is inevitable.
Mhm.
So yeah, we invite all the people who want to who likes to be involved in the expansion of Rocky Point.
Yeah. So with the
thank you.
delegation, we're thinking of doing it in the fall sometime. We will get prepared for that. So we will have more questions answered. When you also sign the petition online or on paper, we also give you emails once in a while if we have a rally.
Okay.
We've had a few rallies together.
So people can connect with you and stay connected via email.
Yes.
And you will let them know of upcoming events that they should be aware of and hopefully involved in, and rallies and
Yes.
any communications with City Hall, that sort of. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. It sounds like you're well organized, and I'd just like to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us. And we'll be following you and see where this leads. So again, thanks so much for coming in and sharing your story.
Thank you,
Thank
Nancy.
you so much for
Thank you.
having us.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness. This is We've Got Issues. And I've been speaking with Nishka Valdev, Juan Carlos Philippe, and also Tracey Crawford about the campaign to expand Rocky Point Park.